Are you a leader, manager, entrepreneur, business owner, or knowledge worker? Are you leading people or wondering how to be a better leader in your own life and work? If you are, then you can be experimenting better. Welcome to The Experimental Leader, a podcast that takes a look at the ways leaders are experimenting in their own work. Hosted by Melanie Parrish, we dive into real-life conversations about how people might be using a scientist's mindset and experimenting in their work. Shift your leadership into something that works better. Join us on The Experimental Leader today.
Hey, it's great to be here live with you today. And I just love being here with you. Since I was on last, I've migrated back to Canada, which is fun. It's nice to be home. And I just have been thinking a lot about the last couple of years. We've had this anniversary of when things really heated up in North America around COVID. And I've been thinking about the things that have changed in the last 2 years. And one of the ones that I've noticed, there's a couple of things. When you visit a town where people live, they don't invite you to stay with them anymore. I've noticed that. But from a leadership perspective, I think one of the things that's really changed is the way employees want to be cared for in their work. I think that we are going to be having more stress leaves in general over the next couple of years. I think people are legitimately tired, burned out. They've been stressed, like they've been pushed to their limit. And if anything else happens, they probably will need to care for themselves in a way that's really different than how they have in the past. I see more people in the world going off on stress leaves. And I think that's really interesting for us to consider as leaders and how we create resilience in our systems and our staffing. There might be people rolling their eyes right now as I say that, because we're also strapped in many organizations for headcount. Like we can't hire for all the positions that are available. So I think there's a real leadership piece to consider around that. And I think that continuing to experiment around the hiring process is really important. And then also just building that next layer to plan for people coming in and out of stress leaves or in and out of burnout, and how we care for people. And Mina, it's great to have you here with us live today. Thanks. So yeah, I'm super excited to be here and to talk to our guest today. Today we're welcoming mindset expert speaker, and he's also known as the Business Hypnotist, Adrian Moreno. And Adrian's a leading hypnotherapist for entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives. He helps them level up their performance, impact, and happiness. Adrian, it is great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great. It's so exciting. So I want to just dive right in with you. And I just want to hear a little more about how you use hypnotherapy in a business context. I've heard about it for things like smoking or weight loss or those kinds of things. Why business?
Okay, well, I once had a client who built a $18 million real estate company within about 3 to 4 years. So pretty successful in a short amount of time, right? Clearly accomplished, ambitious, driven, and he was a great, leader in his own right? But he reached a point in his business where he now wanted to step out into the world and start writing his books and being on stages. That was like always his big dream. And he goes, I was able to become successful and I want to be a motivational speaker now. And I have this book that's been in my mind for 4 years and I've been working on this book and I really want to do this, but I keep on procrastinating. I can't stop. He goes, He goes like, I'm super driven in business, but the moment it comes to the book and booking speaking gigs, I will find every excuse not to do it. And he was like, it's so odd because that's not me. I'm such a driven individual. Like, it's so weird that I can't do this. Will hypnosis help me? And I was like, well, let's give it a shot. Now, hypnosis, I think it's important that people understand what it is. And hypnosis is nothing more but a process that is used to get somebody into theta brainwaves. Hypnosis is not a state of mind. It just induces a state of mind, just like taking a shower, just like driving, just like reading. Whenever you're doing a passionate project, you probably forget about time. Those are states of trances. And so I utilized hypnosis to get him into theta brainwaves, because when you're in theta brainwaves, you're able to communicate with the unconscious parts of yourself, those parts of yourself that you don't pay too much attention to, but they're there. Those beliefs that you probably don't want to entertain, but they're there. And the reason why this is significant is because all beliefs materialize into our external experience. They become an actual experience for us. So in this case, I wanted to figure out why he was procrastinating. In other words, I wanted to figure out what belief was driving his behavior, because beliefs drive behavior. If you believe you're successful, you act successful, right? And so I wanted to go ahead and figure out what that was. So utilizing hypnosis, when you can access the theta state of mind, you're able to kind of like imagine putting a flashlight in a dark house and being able to like spot all your furniture, right? Like, what furniture is like, have you totally forgot about? You need to get out of there. And in this case, a memory came up for my client. And this is how it helps in this context. My client he found himself in his 4-year-old body. And this is all a memory. It's very vivid during a hypnosis state. And so he was sitting in a circle with all of his cousins. They just got done trick-or-treating, and they were all sharing their candy, like trading their candy, right? And I remember when I was little, I used to do that too. And so they're all sitting there and they're all having a little conversation. He's the youngest cousin in the room. He's 4 years old. The oldest cousin's 9. So he decides to add to the conversation. The conversation is going. He wants to speak up and add to it, just like a little expressive kid. He expresses himself. And as he does so, his oldest cousin says, Alex, shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. When his cousin told Alex that, my client just stops in that moment, and he does what everybody does in their life: interpret their environment and make it mean something. And he looked at that moment and said, my voice doesn't matter. And that internalized and created an emotional charge inside of his brain that now he found himself at 36 years old procrastinating. He was keeping himself from putting his voice out there, because I don't know about you, but putting a book out there, that's pretty vulnerable, right? Yeah. Getting on stage, you're putting your voice out there. Why would you do that if you genuinely believe that putting your voice, that nobody wants to hear your voice, that your voice doesn't matter? And so the way it can help in business is, I've helped people triple their revenue. I've helped people, scale their bottom line and do crazy good things in business, not because I sit down and consult with them, not because I sit down and give them tactics and new strategies, but because I sit down with them and I help them uncover the ideas that are holding them back. So what hypnosis can do in business and how it can help is by the way, now my client, he ended up writing that book in 4 months compared to 4 years. He got on News Weekly. He's been on made a documentary. He's done a crap load of things since our session, getting rid of that little fear, getting rid of that little belief. So what hypnosis does is it allows you to see what you believe to be true about life. Because what you believe to be true about life will bleed into your business. If you believe you can make 6 figures, good luck making 7. Right. And so it's a matter of uncovering what those are and then changing them. And hypnosis is not the only way to do that. It is a very effective way to do that, though. So that's a long answer to your short question.
Well, and I just have so many questions. Are some people like easy to hypnotize? Are some people harder to hypnotize? Is there
That's a great
Yeah.
question. So with that, everybody is what you're asking me is like, can everybody be hypnotized? Kind of, right? The reality is let's look at what being hypnotized means. What being hypnotized means is being, again, in a state, in a trance. A trance is a state of absorption to the point where you start filtering out other information. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So right now, are you aware of the sensation in your left foot?
Now I am.
Now you are. But before that, you weren't, right? In other words, your conscious mind was filtering out. It's still conscious because it's still available. You're still able to access it. It just filters it out because it's not relevant to your experience right now. So you are right now very realistically in a trance. In order to be alive, your consciousness has to channel itself through a brain. You have to understand that is a trance in itself. There is no way you can be alive without being in some level of a trance. So everybody is already hypnotized. So the answer is yes, everybody can be hypnotized. The real question is, can every hypnotist hypnotize everybody? Because I can't hypnotize everybody into a deeper state. And the reason why is because some people may not feel safe around. Some people may not feel safe with the idea of even being out of control, right? If you do not, security is number one. If you do not feel secure in your nervous system, so let's say me and you were doing a session right now. If you did not 100% feel secure in your nervous system, you would more than likely block me from guiding you into a relaxed state of mind because you might be a little anxious.
Well,
So
I'm on a live podcast.
Right? So yes, everybody can be hypnotized. It just comes down to, is the person that you are allowing to facilitate the process, do you feel secure with them? Do you feel safe with them? Do you feel safe with yourself? And most importantly, do you feel safe with the idea of hypnosis? Because if you don't, then you will reject that idea. You will reject it in itself if you have any false beliefs about like mind control and things like that, which are very valid, fears for people. But yeah.
And I just have kind of a crazy question because this is a leadership show and you're leading your own company.
Okay.
How do you use this for yourself?
Oh, beautiful question. So right before this podcast interview, I just did a self-hypnosis session on. So I utilize self-hypnosis every day. There's a handful of ways I do it, but the number one key, and this is the principle that I want everybody to take away from this show, is the power of giving your mind, fixing clear mental pictures in your mind. When you fix a clear mental picture in your mind will literally do everything in its power to automatically realize that picture. That is the way our minds are designed. It's just like a computer. If I press the letter H, I don't have to add every pixel on my screen for the H to pop up. I press it and it's programmed to produce the result. Our brain is the exact same thing. We got to give it an instruction and it will produce the result. So I use hypnosis for, first and foremost, to consistently give myself pictures of goals. So every day, there's a simple self-hypnosis technique that I can show you really quickly, but everybody can utilize it. You just utilize your eyeballs to get you relaxed. And then once you're relaxed, you throw so in my imagination, I call it the mental theater. So what I do is I sit down in the theater in my imagination and I throw a picture in front of me and it's me on a TED stage because that's my goal that I'm working towards right now. It's when I throw the picture on there, I see $537,600 in yearly revenue this year because that's the revenue target I'm going for this year, that very specific number, right? And so I close my eyes every day in a state of a trance. I get myself in theta, and I can show you how to do that, but I get myself in theta, and then from that point, I picture what I want in my life, and I throw that picture up, and I sit with it consistently. I've been picturing speaking on stages for years. This year, I've already spoken on 17 stages. What I picture actually happens. So it's very important people understand your pictures will become true. So what I use for myself is closing my eyes and seeing myself leading a meeting with calm, because I used to be very anxious when leading team meetings. Like I'm this 24-year-old kid. Can I really lead this team? Right. And so I will visualize myself leading the meeting, cool, calm, and collected. I will visualize myself networking with people, cool, calm, and collected, eliminating my self-anxiety, my social anxiety I had. So that's one way I do it. That's probably the number one way I do it, is just consistently picturing myself doing what I want to do. And number two is reparenting myself through hypnosis. So we have this inner child. Everybody has an inner child. No matter what, you have an inner child. And this inner aspect, because as we go through life, we make decisions just like that story of my client. Mm-hmm. And these decisions are very important it's very important we go back and reframe these, because a lot of them are very, very limiting. Like my client's mom picked her up late from school one day, and she told herself, I'm not important. Is that a realistic conclusion? No, your mom just worked a little late one day. But in her little 5-year-old mind, that was all the things she could come to. So she made that decision. So closing your eyes and imagining that 5-year-old self and being the parent you've always wanted to be to that child can make the most lasting changes in your life. I once had a client pay me $5,000 to work with me, because I charge a lot of money to work with me. Paid him $5,000 for 3 sessions. We did our first session, and I just had him imagine, because he wanted to grow his revenue. I literally just had him imagine playing with his little self in Disney World, doing whatever he wanted to do. And he was like, did I really just pay you thousands of dollars to just do what you just did for me? I was like, just pay attention to the next 90 days. His income went from $10,000 weeks to $36,000 weeks. So when I say this stuff works, it makes emotional room for you to hold what you want. I've made $500,000 and lost it. Why? Because I didn't have the room to hold it. So I use hypnosis in those 2 ways specifically for myself, to make room for to see what I want. And then the second thing that I do is with that inner child, going back and loving on myself as an inner child, just closing my mind. But of course I do it in a trance, but you don't have to be in a trance. You can just close your eyes and just imagine that you're playing with your kid's self and loving them, telling them everything you wanted. Because what that does is that gives me the room to hold the pictures that I'm actually giving myself.
I find as a coach, sometimes having that hunger for something other than what you're already experiencing is a lot of the work. So
yeah,
to hold the vision
constantly.
Yeah. And, I work with a lot of people who lead and they're tired. And so wanting more of anything is a challenge sometimes. How do you work with that?
Well, I'd ask what you mean by tired exactly.
Like physically tired from, just like they've been working for, if they're my age, they've been working for 30 years. They're just a little tired. Like they might have kids and a family and be balancing lots of things. And the hunger for the new, or the hunger for the next thing, can be challenging. Yeah.
Can I give you an answer you probably are not expecting?
Yeah, sure.
The first part of the answer would be to check your belief system. Because you may believe genuinely that the body grows frail and old and tired as you age. If that is a belief held in the mind, you will grow frail, tired, and brittle as you age. Your cells do listen. So as my suggestions to myself is constantly, day by day, I'm getting more healthy. My body grows in health as I grow in age, right? And so that is a belief of mine. And my cells, they listen to you. Reality does reorganize itself to meet your perspectives. This is not my philosophy. This is a quantum reality at this point. This is physics at this point. So that's number one. Believe right now you're vibrant. Believe you're energetic. Believe there's life there. Just by believing that itself will stir up energy. That belief in itself will stir up energy. And then number two, get another picture of what you want. I know I'm saying that again, but if you're tired, that chances are you probably feel like you're just kind of going through the motions. Because I'm not, belittling anybody's situation, but I'm genuinely excited every day because I have a clear picture in my mind. So every action I take, it's like in my mind, it's genuinely purposeful. Even doing this. And I'm like, everything is purposeful. So it has this energy about it. And it makes me feel energetic, but because I have a clear mental picture. There's a reason why 68% of people who retire die within 24 months of retiring. They no longer have a picture in their mind. Their organs are like, well, where are we going? Okay, let me start depleting my energy. So number one, check your belief system. Number two, install a brand new picture in your mind and make sure that picture is something that is worth your energy. It's not a matter of, are you worth that picture? Bull BS, you are worth whatever you want. Is that picture worth your energy? Because trust me when I say you can gain so much life you can gain so much energy in the second half of your life. I know I'm a 20-something-year-old kid, but my mom also, I just got her into all of this, not into all of this stuff recently, but I got her to finally start her business. And she has such a clear picture in her mind. And then all of a sudden, my mom, who's now 51 or 52, she says she's feeling like she's in her 20s again. Why? Because she's working on her business, but she's not just working on her business. There is a picture she's working towards now. It's not just working in her business. She knows what she's working towards. When you know what you're working towards, the mind is exhilarated in itself because life goes for more life always.
And where can people find you?
Totally. So if you want to find me, the number one way would be to actually just get into my world. So when I say get into my world, I have a self-hypnosis process that's designed to really help people do all what I talked about today and then show them everything about the mind and basically get them back in the driver's seat. Excuse me, I just burped a little bit, but get them back in the driver's seat so they can create the life that they want. Once they get into my world through downloading this process, in their email, they'll have my socials, they'll have my podcast, and they can go look on all of that fun stuff. But to make it easy for your listeners, just go to rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable. rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable. And then that will get you into my world.
That's great. And we'll put that in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Well, it has been a pleasure to have you on today. I love your energy.
Thank you so much.
So exciting. And I love the way that you're looking at creating change from the inside out. It's fantastic. Thank you for being here, Adrian.
Absolutely.
Well, it was great being here with Adrian. And I am so conscious of this idea of the idea of fostering dream. This is true for coaching. It's true for hypnosis. I feel like we could all tune up our brains a little bit. So I really want to challenge you as just a human being to think about yourself, your thoughts, what you're calling forth for yourself, and do a little tune up on the inside. Think of the pictures that you want to achieve on the inside, that you want to manifest on the outside, but start with the picture you have in your mind. I think it's a really powerful thought. And I loved being here with you today talking about this. Go experiment.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of The Experimental Leader. We hope you have found value in today's episode because we're dedicated to helping you become the experimental leader you want to be. To access the show notes or learn more about working with Melanie, visit melanieparish.com. Go experiment.